It's the VMX show, season 6. Oh, for Christ.
Hey now, everybody. Hey now, this is the VMX show, and I am Necro VMX, and this is season 6, episode 6. We are indeed on Route 66. Now, today it's going to be kind of a shorter show. I don't have a guest this week, and there's not a whole lot of news to talk about. I believe this is the last show in July. Let me check on that, actually. Oh, no, we got one more in July. We do have 5 Sundays in July, so I'm not even going to do the August schedule of releases. So, yeah, like I said, it's going to be a shorter show than usual, so we're just going to enjoy it while it lasts. Let's get to your questions and comments. Now, last week when I did the questions and comments, there was a whole lot of problems with people responding to other people's things. Like, somebody would post a comment or question, and then somebody else would answer it. And in particular, I had one asshole who was going through all of them and just being a real jerk to everybody, and I blocked that guy. I am still seeing some responses from people who are not me, and I really would rather you guys don't do that. But it's greatly reduced, so thanks for listening for the most part. Let's see. So we're going to start with Real Nisuiko. He told me in the past how to pronounce his name, and I said, oh, okay, thank you very much, because I had no idea how to pronounce it, and I think he sent me an IM or something on Skype where he said, this is how you pronounce my username, and I was like, oh, thank you, and I forgot, so whatever. He'll probably tell me again, and I'll forget again, and, maybe one day I'll get it, maybe one day I won't get it. We'll find out. But, actually, no, see, he's not the first person to come in because he was replying. So I gotta figure this out. I hate when people do this. Okay, so the Return of Kali Yuga said, here's a quick question. What Mario games do you prefer, 2D or 3D? I'm a big fan of the 2D Super Mario games, but I gotta say, my 3 favorite Mario games are 3D. Somebody named Benson999 asked which ones in particular, and it just went on like that. And, I like them both. I mean, for the longest time I preferred the 2D games because I felt the 3D games weren't as good. Super Mario 64 was a really great game, but it didn't exactly have the best controls, and it didn't have the feel of being a 3D Mario game. Sunshine was a little better, but it had some weird mechanics, and it was still, only the parts where, those old school levels did it feel like a 3D Mario game. And then I felt that Galaxy was a huge masterpiece. Galaxy was the one that finally got it right. But at the same time, they were doing the revival of the old school with New Super Mario Bros. And New Super Mario Bros. Wii. So, an upcoming New Super Mario Bros. 2 and New Super Mario Bros. U. So, I can't say which one I prefer. I like them both. The 3D games tend to be a little longer and more involved, so there is that to be said there. So take that as you will. Let's see, moving on here. Lost my tab. Okay, Dave Cornfan says, hey Necro, back when Final Fantasy 13 came out, it got a lot of hate, but I always noticed you defended it, and because of that, I've been looking to pick it up because you have great taste in RPGs. My question to you is, why the hate, and why did you like it? The hate, there wasn't as much hate as, it's like a vocal minority. The game sold really well, and it got really good reviews overall. As a matter of fact, when you hear about a game that, everybody seems to hate, and, wow, that website's not working. Everybody seems to work, oh, there it goes. Everybody seems to hate a game. Don't just think that it's bad just because you're hearing a lot of hate. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes it's a vocal minority, and a good website to check, and I just got it working, would be Metacritic. Game Rankings would be another one. And it's not like you're just looking at one review, because one review is always going to be one person's opinion. The great thing about Metacritic is that it gives you an average of, I hit the microphone there, an average of several different opinions. Final Fantasy 13, has an 83 out of 100 for PlayStation 3 on Metacritic, a slightly lower score On the Xbox 360, it has an 82 there, but that's a really good score. I mean, so you hear a lot of hate because the people who hate it are very, very vocal about it, and then the people who like it are just playing it. They're not going all over the internet. So there is that. As to why I think people hate it, I think it was just that it was a different take on Final Fantasy very much. It was very much not like a Japanese RPG. It was very much not like a JRPG because it was very... well, in some ways it was. The linearity definitely played its way into a Japanese RPG, but it had a lot of influences of other genres in there. But it was very linear. It didn't have as much freedom. But of course, it did have that later on, but you had to play through quite a lot of a game to get to the overworld. In a lot of ways, it was kind of like Final Fantasy VII in the sense of the whole Midgar section being very, very long, before you get to the overworld. So there is that. As to why I liked it, I mean, I like all sorts of different games, and I don't really pigeonhole myself into one particular genre, or even within genres, one particular type. I like all types of RPGs, and I just recognize that it was a quality game. It was fun for me. It's not for everybody. I think a lot of people are not going to like it because it's so different and it's so weird, and the story it tells is pretty high concept. But it's cheap enough. I recommend you try it. Moving on. YNSU94. Oh, yeah, a couple of people said the download link from last week's show didn't work. I don't know why it didn't work. Let me actually look on the server right now and see what happened there. I didn't get a chance this week to really look at that. So I'm connecting to the server right now. Okay, I'm on. And let me go into the VMX show folder and see why it didn't, because I know I uploaded it. Right. Oh, I see what happened. All right, you know what? By the time you hear this, it'll be fixed. Okay? By the time you hear this, it'll be fixed. What I did, I'll tell you what I did. Instead of uploading the MP3 file to the server, I accidentally uploaded the video file, which explains why it took so long, because the video file is larger. Not by a whole lot, but I'm going to delete the video off of there. That doesn't need to be there. So by the time you hear this, the download link for last week's and for this week's will of course be working. So sorry about that. Didn't get the chance to look at it until just now. So there you have it. Okay, so let's move along to the next one. Cobra DVS says, great episode, Necro. Well, thank you. I'm actually quite pleased to hear you're a non-believer, as am I. Well, why are you pleased? Who do you care what I don't get that. Like, when I say, like, what I believe in a religious sense, there are people who are angry, and I don't understand, why are you angry? And then there are people who are happy, and I'm like, why are you happy? Personally, I don't care what other people think. So, what about religion? I don't know. Like, I'm not part of a club. I don't want to be, that's why I say I don't like to use the word atheist, because I don't like to be put into a group like that. Anyway, let's see what he says. Anyway, more to the point with a question. A few Wii U questions. Firstly, what price point do you think it has to have to be a good selling system? Let me answer that before I move on. I think it needs to hover around $300. I think that it would be nice if it, the Wii started at $250, which is very affordable, especially compared to the Xbox 360, which was $300 to $350 when it was first released, and the PlayStation 2, which started at $600, moved down to $400, and then finally got down to $300. Look at the example of the PlayStation 3. It didn't start to do really well until it moved down to $300, and then all of a sudden, the PlayStation 3 was not a failed console, and it was starting to come into its own, and it was starting to give some real competition to the Wii and the Xbox 360. So, there is that. It would be nice if the Wii U was $250, but I don't think that's realistic, firstly. And secondly, I think that people might not take it as seriously if it was cheaper. They might think it's like the Wii, it's not going to be HD, it's not going to be next gen, because a lot of people felt that way about the Wii. They felt, oh, it's just like the GameCube, it's not, current gen. So I think $300, if you go anywhere above $350, it would be bad. I think Nintendo is going to be very smart about this because they learned their lesson with the 3DS. The 3DS was $250. It's a lot for a handheld console. They dropped it to $170, and all of a sudden, just like the PlayStation 3, it took off. It started coming into its own. It's doing really well now. It's not a failed system. It's doing excellently. So price point, really important. As a matter of fact, I was just reading an article earlier that was talking about how people are worrying about like how powerful is the Wii U going to be. There were some people who are saying it's not going to be as powerful as the current systems like the PlayStation 3. There were some people that were saying it was going to be equal. There was some people that were saying it's definitely well past the abilities of PlayStation 3. And those are the people I believe the most, because those are developers saying that, who have worked with the system. But the point of the article that I read earlier was that it doesn't matter. The power is not as relevant as the price right now. Of course, innovation is important, but we already know it's innovative. We already know it's going to be a lot of fun. We already know it's going to be cool. We just need to know how much is it going to cost, and that's going to be very important. So I think $300 is fair. I think it's Nintendo is not going to be making as much money then as they could, but learn from the mistakes. Look at what Sony did, and just kind of take off of that. Let me move on. He has more questions. Let's see. And next, do you think the Wii U faces the problem of being released too early? It may outperform current generation systems, but once the next Xbox and PlayStation come out, do you think the Wii U will be way behind them in terms of power and graphics? Well, as I said, I don't think that matters as much, and it didn't hurt the Wii, really, because it's not about... We're at the point now where it's like, how much more powerful can these things fucking get? You know what I mean? We're at the point now where it doesn't really matter as much, and it's all about just, the games, really. That's what matters, is the games. And... I don't think, that could hurt a system. Like, it hurt the Dreamcast coming out too early, and then once the PlayStation 2 came out, that was kind of it for the Dreamcast. But it didn't hurt the Wii, it didn't hurt the Wii. The Wii always sold well. Recently, it's been dropping off, like in the past year or so, because, how many people are going to be buying a Wii now? Everybody fucking has one. So, they're at market saturation. I think the most important thing is making sure that people, casual fans, know that this is not the same thing. This is not an add-on. This is a completely new system. So, marketing and branding is important. I think that price is extremely important. Timing, not so much. I don't think timing is as important. As a matter of fact, I think it's going to be good for Nintendo to get their foot in the door early on. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm going to move on. Quagmire69 Giggity says, I would like to see a Dragon Quest VIII walkthrough from you. I think it would be interesting considering it's your favorite game. Wow. Yeah, I did ask last week, would you like to see Dragon Quest walkthroughs? Because somebody was asking me about it, and I always thought it would be boring for people to watch, but 8 is like, it takes me like 100 hours to get there. That's way too long. I would start with like probably Dragon Quest 1. I would do the Game Boy Color version, but I would not go right to 8. Almighty Santa posted. He has 2 questions. What was the first concert you ever went to? Okay, now that's a little muddy, actually, because my parents would take me to concerts in Central Park when I was a little kid, and I don't really remember what the first one was, The first concert that I remember, like rock and roll concert, I actually went to, that I can remember other than the Central Park, like the free concerts, was I went with my parents and my sister. I was a teenager, and we went to see Bon Jovi. That was in Hershey. And the first concert that I went to, like on my own, was Dream Theater in Philadelphia. So there you go. And his second question, what is the most bugged out film you ever saw? Mine would have to be El Topo. I saw it when I was like 14 or so. Not sure what you mean by bugged out. I think you mean like weird. Is that what you mean? I think I answered that last week. Didn't I talk about Being John Malkovich? That was bugged out. If I'm to understand bugged out meaning fucked up. So I think I already answered that last week, no less. I'm going to move on here. Hans Fartknocker. He says, I would really like to see you LP Dragon Quest. So far, 2 people saying they would like to see it. He has 2 numbered questions. Number 1, I watched a video about the Ouya. The developers say they are making it open to hackers and indie developers. I'm extremely excited for this console. Are there any games you expect to see on it? Well, it's kind of difficult because they're polling what games people want to see on it, but I don't know what the capabilities are, so I don't know what I would expect to see. I do think we're going to see a lot of indie games and whatnot, and stuff that you would like see on Steam, So I do expect that. Maybe we'll get Chronicles of the Dark Lord on there if it gets funded. We'll see. And number 2, are there any upcoming comic series you were looking forward to? Well, let's see. Well, I've been enjoying the Shazam backups in Justice League, and I was hoping that would kind of be released as its own series, but so far, no, it hasn't been solicited or anything, so I don't know about that. I was very much looking forward to Earth 2, but that's already out now, so I don't know about any new ones coming out other than the one I already read. I'm going to move on here. Let's see. Dark Hill Pick 28. He says 2 questions. Number 1, which splatter film or torture porn in the past decade makes you sick the most? Well, they don't bother me. I don't tend to even really watch those because I think that they're not very smart. Like I saw the first 2 Saw movies. The first one was good, and the second one was not so good. And then there was 5 more that I didn't watch. And Hostel and Hostel 2 and the Human Centipede and all those. I didn't watch them because it just looks dumb to me. They don't really make me sick. They don't bother me. You can't really gross me out. It's incredibly difficult to gross me out. So there you go. And number 2, what is your favorite attraction at Universal Studios? I've never been to Universal Studios. That's in California, I believe. I'm on the East Coast, and I haven't ever actually been to the West Coast. So no, I have never been to the Universal Studios theme park. Moving along, Savage Broadcast says, good stuff, Necro. And as for Patch Adams, Williams and the musical score are pretty good, but the story is pretty thin. Most of the characters are underdeveloped or cartoonish. If you find it in a bargain bin, give it a whirl, but if you pay $7 or more, you'll feel ripped off. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of like the kind of movie that if it was on, like, cable or TV or whatever, I would watch it, but I don't think I'd buy it. And he has 2 questions. Number 1, who are your favorite film composers? Well, definitely John Williams gets a nod, and not for Star Wars so much. I mean, everybody knows the Star Wars stuff, but the Superman movies, and he's done so many different things other than Star Wars, but he definitely gets a nod. Also, Danny Elfman also does a lot of really great, really great themes. Hans Zimmer. I mean, there you go. And number 2, do you plan to review Dark Knight Rises when you see it like you did last year for Green Lantern? Maybe. I don't even know when I'm going to see it. It's it's out now, and I'll get around to it eventually. I know it's going to be in theaters for a while. Certainly the whole Batman shooting thing, that put the damper on it, really. But I do want to see it. Really want to see it. So I'll get around to it, As for review, it really depends on how much time I have. So there you go. Mr. X Before You X says they were going to make a Mass Effect movie, but I think that died in or around the PR disaster we all know about. I don't know about any PR disaster, really. I mean, I know about some minor things with Mass Effect, but there was no PR disaster, so stop making it like there was some huge disaster. No. Mass Effect movie, yeah, why not? I don't know how you're going to fit a game like that into a movie and do it justice, but there you go. Maybe that should be a TV show. XX Bro Buzz XX says, I wouldn't mind seeing a playthrough of the original Dragon Quest, but seeing as I just bought the game, I'm somewhat biased. Well, so that's 3 people who would like to see Dragon Quest playthroughs. Anyway, my question for you is, excluding Game of the Year editions and all that, what do you think is the best exclusive feature in a different version of any game? Wow, okay. That's unusual. Yeah, I don't know. I never really gave that much thought. I mean, like what's popping into my head the most is like Batman Arkham Asylum for PlayStation 3 that had the whole mode of like playing as the Joker, which seems really cool, but I don't have that version. I don't have a PlayStation 3, so it's like I can't say that it was great. It was, the best, but that's like the only thing popping into my head right now. WWE 123, yeah, a whole bunch of numbers and then letters. Well, pick a better username, Jesus Christ. He says, I didn't hear your favorite game on the last show. Sorry, Nick or VMX. My first question is, what is your fav list someone has sent you to do on List Critics, and why don't you say fuck you in your videos anymore? I say fuck you all the time. Fuck you. No, I always get that. I was like, why don't you curse as much as you used to? And I'm like, I don't know. I just say what comes to my mind. Sometimes I curse, sometimes I don't. I think that I curse just as much as ever. Favorite list on the List Critics, just listen to the show, whatever we give the best ratings to. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. The programmer 2290 says, my first, actually, let me go back to WWE. He says my first question, he only had one question. I'm looking around to see if he posted again, but I don't see it. So, yeah, he had his first question. I don't know, maybe we'll get to his second question next week. Whatever. Okay, the programmer 2290 says, hey VMX, can you point me to your he means your other videos, like the one with info about the games? I love learning more and more about... Dude, what are you talking about? Alright, moving on. The Last Samurai 14 says, regarding the idea of a Dragon Quest playthrough, I'd definitely like to see more JRPG playthroughs from you in general, not just the Dragon Quest series. Well, you know, I've been kind of shying away from it because of all the grinding, but I will do more JRPGs in the future. And it looks like people do want to see Dragon Quest. Gloober says, I don't know if you remember last season I asked you, do you think Deadpool should have his own game? So now my question is, now that Deadpool does have his own game coming out, what are your thoughts on it? What are your thoughts on it? I haven't played it. It's not even out yet. The trailer was cool. Like, I commented on that last week. What more do you want me to say? Splashfire0x says, hey, Nick, great episode as always. Anyways, my question is, have you ever tried a Dorito Locos taco from Taco Bell? I know it's a weird question. Hey, if people can ask weird questions, why can't I? I've never tried the Dorito Locos taco. I never will try it, and I'll tell you why. I hate Doritos. I don't like Doritos. I think they're gross. So the idea of a taco being formed into a giant Dorito is just gross to me. I don't. I like Taco Bell. I like Taco Bell quite a lot, but I usually get like the Mexican pizza and maybe some nachos like that. You know, I don't really. I like the chalupas too, but generally speaking, my thing is to go there and get a plate of nachos and a Mexican pizza and a drink, and that's what I get. So love that Mexican pizza. That shit's great. Yeah, the Dorito Loco. No, never. I hate Doritos. I refuse to eat them. Dimebag Zombie says, hey, Necro, I have two questions if you don't mind. Number one, Dark Side of the Moon versus Quadrophenia versus The Grand Illusion. Oh, it's easy. Dark Side of the Moon wins. And number two, David Gilmour versus Jimmy Page. That's a bit tougher, but honestly, I think David Gilmour was the more original guitarist, so I would give it to him. And he says, and I'd be interested in a Dragon Quest LP because it's not about what you're doing, it's about how you do it. That said, your commentary could make stacking bricks entertaining. Well, thank you very much. Not everybody feels that way, but I'm glad you do, because that's kind of what I'm going for in this whole channel, you know? So there you go. Yeah, okay, so it looks, that's 4 votes, I think, for, yeah, do it. Okay, the Emperor of Nothing, I already answered him, but, let me read his question out anyway. I think a Dragon Quest LP, particularly of 7, 8, or the NES or Super NES titles, would be great to see you do, Negro. You're one of my favorite LPers, hands down. Well, thank you very much. Actually, I'd love to see you do more JRPG games in general, so that's not only the 5th vote for doing Dragon Quest, but the 2nd vote for just doing more JRPGs. In that vein, though, I do have a question for you. Are you going to do an LP, the prequel to Kotal Episode 1, when it's released? Do you have a date when it will be out, or at least a date when we can pre-order the game? Okay. The prequel to Kotal, yeah. Okay, so he's talking about Shinandora Zero Chronicle, which is a distant prequel to the Chronicles of a Dark Lord. Not only will I be LPing it, but I will be LPing it before it's even available. You will see it first on my channel being played. You'll probably see a trailer before that, but you will see the entirety of the game. I probably am going to LP it about a week or two before it even comes out, so just to get people pumped. So there you go. That date when it'll come out, not sure, but it will be out before the end of the year. We're shooting to have it done by and ready to release by at least December 15th. That's what we're looking at. If we can get it out earlier, that would be great, but that's what we're shooting for. And pre-orders, I don't know. Probably you'll be able to pre-order it pretty soon. So there you go. As a matter of fact, you might be able to pre-order it now. Let me take a look at that. Going over to KazarethStudios.com to see if we've changed it to where you could pre-order Shinandora Zero Chronicle. I'm not sure yet. I think if not now, then definitely really soon. So that's what's going to happen. Let's see. Shinandora Zero Chronicle. You could see the box art and all that on there. Yeah. It says is the great calamity begins this winter. Let me actually look on our products page and see what's going on there. Okay, episode 2, Shinadora download. Okay, you can't pre-order it yet, but soon. So keep an eye out for that. Future Gamer 24 says, "Hi, I think you should see this guy's video because he talks shit about you." And then he links to. Okay, yeah. All right, let me tell you guys this story. The Star Wars feature, I did the this is so funny. I did the first Nintendo 64 game, the only one I was able to do because it was the only one that worked. Shadows of the Empire, and I got a comment from this knob named the James Rocket who said, "Dude, you suck at this game." And I was just like, "Well, yeah, you suck at life," and I blocked him. And he made this long, like 5-minute long video ranting about me, and it was just ridiculous. It was the funniest thing ever. As a matter of fact, I've already downloaded his video. People keep sending it to me because they think I'm going to be like, "Oh my god, he's talking about you. You're going to be so pissed." Like, people are like, "Why don't you flag him?" And I'm like, I don't want to flag it, you know? I think it's funny. I've downloaded his video. I got the audio and everything. I'm going to use it for Zombie Sneak Attack, especially the part... Because he's so angry throughout the whole thing. And he's got this monotone voice like this, Necro VMX, you are the worst person in the world. But you could hear how angry he is. And then he explodes near the end. He's like, "You think you can put me down? You think you can silence me? Well, think again, asswipe!" And he flips out, and it's like the funniest thing ever. And I must have shown it to about a dozen or so people, and they all have the same reaction. Big laugh. Yeah, I've seen it. It doesn't bother me. I don't care what he thinks. You know, he tries to make it like he was giving an insightful, constructive critique when all he said is "you suck," which is not a critique at all. So whatever. I have seen it. You guys can stop sending me the video because I'm well aware of it. Moving on. Jazzmaster909 says, "Listen to the Battle for Everyone's Souls, and when I heard the intro to the song, the Diabolus in Musica album popped into my head. Great piece nonetheless." Yeah, the intro is a little bit like that. It gets really great, though. Jupe Reindeer says, "Dragon Quest playthrough? Please don't, unless you can edit it down to mostly plot and first-time scene monster fights, and it's a ton of editing effort for an okay product. So I'd still vote please don't." So at least one person thinks I shouldn't do it. They think that... it would be kind of dull. I would never do that, though. I would never edit down a playthrough for plot and first time on. No, that is ridiculous. So basically, I'm kind of actually, even though in the past I've leaned towards I'm not going to do it, I've had 5 votes yes, 1 vote no. I'm kind of leaning towards I'm going to do it. I mean, he doesn't have to watch it. I'm not positive, though, so I'm not going to edit it down. That's one thing that I'm not going to do. But and he knows I'm not going to do it, so his vote is no. And that's fine, because I thought everybody would vote no, to be honest. I thought everybody would say, don't do it. So the fact that the majority are saying do it is kind of surprising. Alright, moving on. Red Devil Dazzy 2007 says, "Good episode, Necro. Enjoyed this video. Nice job. Bless you," regarding the sneeze in this one. Whatever. Moving on. He's so weird. B Salber 1212. Sorry, I'm laughing. So B Salber 1212 says, "Hey, Necro, great episode. Thank you. And my last question, I was talking about music radio and not talk show. I don't listen to it, really. I got a CD player in the car. But I was wondering how you first got into video games and what your first video game was." It's going back. My first video game was definitely Pac-Man, but it's such a fuzzy memory. It really is a very, very, very fuzzy memory. It's actually a strain to come up with a visual. My parents were visiting somebody's house, friends of theirs or something, and they had a video game console, and I don't think it was the 2600. I think it might have been the Atari, like 5200, but I was really little, and I remember playing it, and it was a little beyond me at the time because I was a toddler, but I do remember that. Then my parents did have He did buy an Atari 2600, and I remember a few times playing the games on there. Like, we had... The one that I remember the most is we did have 3D Tic-Tac-Toe. My uncle also had an Atari. He had like Asteroids and Sword Quest and Breakout and a few other games. And then at my grandmother's house, her next door neighbor had this little mini arcade thing that had Galaxian and Galaxian was the Galaga and Galaxian. It had both of those games. And also, eventually, when I was 9, we got the NES and Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. But first game was definitely Pac-Man. How I got into it, I mean, I guess I've already answered that. Moving on, let's see. Zombie Ryushu says, the YouTube user I mentioned before was called Ace9921. He does Retron 3 and Retro Duo versus original hardware videos. He also has a blog on Sega-16.com where he discusses his work and has a blog. He currently thinks the king of the hill is Retro Duo with additional capacitors installed. The Retron 3 can be modded to play Castlevania 3. Additionally, the Genesis slot can be used for Master System games if you're willing to disassemble the power base converter or get a Master Mega 2. So there you go. He answered my question. I also talked to him through IM, and he gave me way more info than I really needed. Moving on. Insane Wayne 253 says, what's your secrets to a good barbecue? What kind of seasoning or marinades do you like to use? And the eyeball questions, gaming and defecation. Have you done it simultaneously? I'm going to answer your second question first. I think we all have, but I guess I'm kind of unusual in that when it comes to dropping loads into the toilet, I do it very quickly. This happens all the time. I'll be talking to someone online and I'll be like, I'll be right back, I gotta go take a shit. And then I'll come back and they'll be like, I thought you had to take a shit. I'm like, well, I did. And you've only been gone like 2 minutes. And I said, well, how long does it fucking take? You go into the fucking toilet, you sit down, with your asshole positioned over the hole, and you relax. It comes out, you wipe, you wash your hands, and then you come back. You flush the toilet, you wash your hands, and then you come back. To think that would take more than 2 minutes, to me, is hilarious. That people go in there and they spend like a half hour, 45 minutes. They get books and magazines. But sometimes I need like a few moments to myself, and I'll go in there and I'll bring my PSP or my Kindle with me. So, yes, I have done that. As for barbecue, the secret to any good barbecue is the sauce. You got to have an amazing sauce. Also, not overcooking the meat. I make my own sauce. I'm not going to give you the recipe, obviously, but there you go. Right. Splashfire0x says, what would you rather do? Listen to an entire album from Skrillex or play Earthbound from beginning to end? That's a dumb question. That's an easy... Of course I'd listen to the Skrillex album. That is going to take, at the most, a CD can only hold 80 minutes. 80 minutes. 80 minutes of Earthbound, I'm barely past the intro. And there's just, 39 more hours of torture. So that's an easy question. Hitchens Immortal said, asked this on the last episode, mistaking it for the most recent, but my question is thus, do you see another earth-shattering MMO that could rival the success of Warcraft in the future, or do you think the genre won't ever reach those heights again? To be honest, I don't care. I don't play MMOs, but I think that WoW is going to be at the top for like a while longer, but it is starting to wind down, so something big does need to kind of step in, and they need to do it before Blizzard says, oh, hey, here's World of Warcraft 2, I'm going to move on. Hitchens Immortal also posted. He posted, and then he posted a second time, and then he posted a third time replying to his second post. Please, people, don't do this. Alright, Hitchens Immortal says, weirdest film I've ever seen, Begotten. Coincidentally, the guy who did Shadow of the Vampire starring Malkovich. But yeah, you can check it out. It's uploaded to YouTube in its entirety. Alright. Also, best song in the game is a tie between... why are you... These are questions that were for me. I'm going to move on here, actually. Weird. Almighty Larm says, do you think America is doomed? I think it's going to fall from power soon, and it doesn't... Yeah. Okay, Shirley Phelps. I'm just going to move on. That's a stupid... Alright. Elongated Flash says, Barry Allen or Wally West? And he also wants to know what my favorite Simpsons episode is. Favorite Simpsons episode is hard to pick because there's been 23 seasons, but just off the top of my head, it was... Oh, God, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Okay, I don't know the name of it, but it was the one where Lisa became class president. It was a kind of a musical, and it was a spoof of Evita. And there was this really funny song in the middle of it with it was Skinner and Bart and Willie, And Willie always cracks me up, and him singing, "I'm so drunk I can barely see, but it helps me get through the day." I mean, that was just funny. That episode from beginning to end cracks me up. Also, the classic Marge versus the monorail is a big one for me. Barry Allen versus Wally West. Barry's cool, but he's sort of bland. Wally is not as bland, but he's sort of irritating. So overall, I go for Barry. But the real answer would be Jay Garrick. And final question here is from Insane Wayne 253. What are your thoughts on the one-shot Darkest Night? Haven't read it. Have you gone to see Dark Knight Rises yet? No, not yet. And aside from the Joker, who is your top picks of Batman rogues? Ra's al Ghul, definitely. The Riddler is, when he's handled correctly, is really cool. And I'll give you one more. Let's see, just one more. It's hard to narrow it down. The Scarecrow is really awesome when he's done right. So there you have it. There you go. Okay, so that is it for questions and comments. We're going to get to the news, so let's do that. Let's see. I don't have a whole lot of news. Like I said, it's going to be kind of a shorter episode. So here you go. Now, bad news for people who bought Street Fighter X Tekken for the Xbox 360. Of course, we know that there have been various characters that have appeared exclusive to the PlayStation 3 version upon release. Most notably, Pac-Man and Mega Man. Now, there's no reason that Pac-Man and Mega Man would be exclusive to PlayStation 3 other than that's the deal that they made. Pac-Man is a Namco character. Mega Man is a Capcom character. I can understand why Cole would be exclusive to PS3 and Vita, because he's a Sony character. But there you have it. The news has come out that, unfortunately, these characters, Pac-Man and Mega Man, will never be added to the Xbox 360 version. So pretty much a giant fuck you from Capcom and a long string of fuck yous from Capcom. So there you go. Metal Gear Solid 5. There's been a release of things like screenshots and videos and whatnot that came out of San Diego Comic-Con. It's all fake. It's all fake, according to Konami. So don't get all excited. Konami has come out and said it's bullshit. This is, let's see, I do have a quote here if I can find it. Okay. Where is it? I thought I had a quote from Hideo Kojima. Oh, no, okay. Yeah, alright. I thought I had a quote from Hideo Kojima, but basically they just said it's fake. I don't have the quote. Sorry about that. The big rip-off game from Sony, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, has got a few new characters. Cole from Infamous, of course, he was in Street Fighter X Tekken, so he's sort of making the rounds on fighting games. Jack and Daxter will be in it, so there you go. I have some updates regarding Torchlight 2, the dungeon crawler that is probably better than Diablo 3, but nobody will play it. Torchlight 2 was supposed to come out before Diablo 3, so it would have actually had some sort of chance, but now, Okay, so basically we're looking at the end of summer, September 25th or so is when we're looking at this game finally coming out, so there you go. Yeah. Capcom, I just mentioned them a little while ago, and here's another fuck you. This time to their employees. Capcom Vancouver has gone through major layoffs. They have laid off 7% of their staff. Here's a quote from Capcom. They said, Capcom Vancouver has laid off 20 staff as part of its regular periodic assessment of overall studio goals. The studio is actively hiring talented staff to support its goal of delivering high-quality games. So there you go. I have a little bit of news about Double Dragon Neo, the retro reboot of the Double Dragon series from Technos that is going to be coming to Xbox Live Arcade and probably PSN. Yeah, PSN as well. I do have pricing info, and I believe a release date. Yes, the release date will be September 11th, and the price, $10. So there you go. And just like I said, it's Double Dragon Neon, not Double Dragon Neo. Double Dragon Neon. That's a little bit weird, but hey, there you go. Battlefield 4 is a thing, and this is happening. If you want to get into the beta to play Battlefield 4 early, Well, pre-order Medal of Honor Warfighter Limited Edition, and you can get a chance at access to the exclusive Battlefield 4 beta, so that's what's going on there. There's a new Rock Band game coming out, but this is a really weird one. It's called Rock Band Blitz, and as far as I know, it is a downloadable title that is going to be coming out for PSN and Xbox Live Arcade. It will hit PSN on August 28th, Xbox Live Arcade on August 29th. Apparently, it doesn't use the guitar controllers. I mean, you can use the guitar controllers, but apparently you can use regular controllers, which I think is really weird. So, yeah, Rock Band Blitz. I don't really know what this is, but apparently the songs will also be exportable and playable in Rock Band 3. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. There's very, very little info about Rock Band Blitz, other than it is coming out on those dates. I don't really know what it is, like, or how it's played, other than just using the guitars, you know. But there you go. Let's see what else. I only have one more story. It's really two stories in one. I am not surprised, but I am sad to say that Square Enix has quietly canceled the game Final Fantasy Versus 13. It will not be released for PlayStation 3 anytime in the future. It looks like it is done now. They are apparently very afraid of falling stock prices. Their stock took a plummet after the reveal of Dragon Quest X becoming an MMO. They're kind of doing poorly now because of that in terms of the stock market. So there you go. They may not actually come out and announce the cancellation, but they have quietly canceled it. And this has led to rumors that a new project is coming out that will, in fact, be the previously debunked Final Fantasy 13-3, which would, I guess, make it a trilogy and pick up on the cliffhanger ending to Final Fantasy 13-2. Now, that is not definite. Versus 13 being canceled, it is a quiet thing, but that is definite. Final Fantasy 13-3, we're really not sure of. We are celebrating, or they are celebrating, the 25th anniversary of the Final Fantasy series, so something, more things are going to be announced. But that's it for the news. So, I'd like to take us over to the sales charts to end out the show. Like I said, it will be a short one, but hey, what can you do? They can't all be like an hour long. So, it's coming up. I was not as prepared as I could have been. Okay, here we go. So here are the top 10 best-selling games in Japan for the week ending in July 15th, 2012. The number one selling game, of course, Pokemon Black and White version 2 for the DS, which sold 120,255 copies. Taiko no Tatsujin Chibi Dragon to Fushigi na Orb. That's on the 3DS and sold 64,666 copies. I have no idea what that game is. It's from Namco Bandai. Pocket Soccer Legion Calcio Bit on the 3DS sold 26,328 copies. Little Battlers Experience Explosive Boost on the 3DS sold 18,688 copies. Dragon Quest Monsters Terry's Wonderland 3D on the 3DS sold 17,375 copies. The top 5 all being handheld games, all being Nintendo. Actually, number 6 is also a handheld game. Toriko Gourmet Survival on PlayStation Portable sold 15,319 copies. Etrian Odyssey 4 on the 3DS sold 14,460 copies. Time Travelers on the PlayStation Vita sold 9,516 copies. Time Travelers on the 3DS sold 9,352 copies. And Mario Party 9 on the Wii was the only game to crack the top 10 in Japan that's not on a handheld system. 9,021 copies sold there. So look at that. I mean, DS, 3DS, 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 PSP, 3DS, Vita, 3DS. So, wow, almost all handheld. Going over to Europe, the top-selling game was London 2012, the official video game of the Olympic Games for Xbox 360. That sold 22,730 copies. Diablo 3 for PC sold 22,718 copies. PlayStation... Let's fail less at that. London 2012, the official video game in the Olympic Games on the PlayStation 3, sold 21,874 copies. Lego Batman 2 DC Superheroes on the Xbox 360 sold 21,629 copies. The Amazing Spider-Man for PlayStation 3 sold 17,972 copies. The Amazing Spider-Man on Xbox 360 sold 16,536 copies. FIFA Soccer 12 on PlayStation 3 sold 15,789 copies. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 on the PlayStation 3 sold 15,496 copies. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim on Xbox 360 sold 14,885 copies. And Spec Ops: The Line on PlayStation 3 sold 14,052 copies. So in that case, all home consoles, no handhelds. And in America, the top-selling game NCAA Football 13 on the Xbox 360 sold 195,373 copies. NCAA Football 13 on the PlayStation 3 sold 157,003 copies. Pokemon Conquest on the DS, 25,923 copies. Lego Batman 2 DC Superheroes on the Wii sold 24,989 copies. Lego Batman 2 DC Superheroes on the Xbox 360, 20,610 copies. MLB 12 The Show on PlayStation 3, 19,465 copies. Wii Sports on the Wii making a recurrence in the top 10 there. That's 17,864 copies. Wow. Just amazing that that's still selling. Oh, they're still selling Wiis is what it is. Just Dance 3 on the Wii, 16,967 copies. NBA 2K12 on the Xbox 360 sold 16,113 copies. And Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 on the Xbox 360 sold 15,915 copies. Okay, so the top 10 best-selling games worldwide were NCAA Football 13, certainly the highest-selling game of all this week. The 360 version, and then the PS3 version. Pokemon Conquest. Oh, no, not Pokemon. I'm sorry. Pokemon Black and White 2. The Taiku no Tatsujin Chibi Dragon to Fushigi na Orb. Lego Batman on the 360. Diablo 3 for PC. Lego Batman on the Wii. Mario Party 9 on the Wii. Amazing Spider-Man is after that, with PlayStation version first, then the 360 version. So there you have it. Moving on to hardware, in Japan, the top-selling console was the 3DS, which moved 48,397 units. The PlayStation 3 moved 14,629 units. The Vita moved 12,530 units. The PlayStation Portable, 11,218 units. The Wii, 6,891 units. The DS, 1,028 units. And the Xbox 360, 782 units. In Europe, the top-selling console was the PlayStation 3, which moved 51,787 units. The 3DS moved 35,160 units. The Xbox 360 moved 30,872 units. The Wii moved 18,112 units. The PlayStation Portable, 17,009 units. The Vita, 15,769 units, and the DS, 10,105 units. Finally, in North America, the top-selling console was the Xbox 360, 52,138 units moved there. Yeah, I'm losing it here. The PlayStation 3 moved 38,866 units. The 3DS moved 35,078 units. The DS had a boost there, 21,585 units. Then the Wii, 17,191 units. The Vita, 15,227 units. And the PlayStation Portable, 2,577 units, meaning that globally, the top-selling console was the 3DS, followed by PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii, Vita, PlayStation Portable, and the DS. So that's what's going on this week. That's the show. If you want to be on the show, add me on Skype. Name is NecroVMX, and let me know when you can record it. It's got to be in the evening. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them on this video, and I'll answer them. You can also PM them to me or whatever, but it's easiest to just leave them on the video. So, we'll see you next week. VMX out.